Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
What's good, YouTube fam? You're not going to believe what we're about to expose today. We're diving deep into one of the most controversial stories ripping through the NFL right now, and trust me when I tell you, this footage is going to have your jaw on the floor. We're talking about the Cleveland Browns offensive line, alleged sabotage, and a conspiracy theory that's looking more and more like cold, hard reality with every snap of the football. So buckle up, hit that like button right now, and let's get into this explosive story that has the entire football world buzzing. The Cleveland Browns organization finds itself at the center of a growing storm, one that threatens to expose what many fans and analysts have suspected for weeks now. There's something rotten in Cleveland, and it's not just the team's dismal record. We're talking about deliberate, calculated failures on the offensive line that have left quarterbacks scrambling, plays collapsing, and fans absolutely furious. The footage we're about to break down isn't just bad football. It's something far more sinister, something that raises serious questions about player effort, team chemistry, and whether certain members of this offensive line are actually trying to win football games. Let's rewind a few weeks. The whispers started quietly, like they always do in the NFL. Fans noticed something off. Plays that should have worked were falling apart. Quarterbacks, particularly when certain players were under center, seemed to have absolutely no time in the pocket. The protection schemes looked confused, almost deliberately broken. Social media started buzzing with theories, and what began as frustrated speculation from armchair quarterbacks started gaining traction when actual film analysis began to surface. The evidence was mounting, and it pointed to one disturbing conclusion. Members of the Browns' offensive line might not be giving their full effort, and in some cases, might actually be working against their own team's success. Now, before we go any further, let's be crystal clear about something. We're not here to destroy anyone's career or throw around baseless accusations. We're here to analyze film, present facts, and let you, the audience, draw your own conclusions. But the footage that's emerged over the past several weeks is absolutely damning, and it demands serious scrutiny from everyone who cares about the integrity of professional football. When you see an offensive lineman essentially perform a Superman dive into thin air while his assignment blows past him untouched, when you witness supposed professionals simply falling to the ground without making contact, when you watch plays designed to gain crucial yards collapse because multiple linemen simultaneously fail to engage their blocks, you have to ask yourself, is this incompetence or is this something else entirely? The story really exploded when content creator Winf Thatcher discovered footage from a crucial 4th-and-1 situation that the Browns faced in a recent game. This wasn't some meaningless play in garbage time. This was 4th-and-1, bordering on the red zone, a situation where every single player should be giving maximum effort to move those chains and keep the drive alive. What the film revealed was nothing short of shocking. Right tackle Jack Conklin, a player being paid millions of dollars to protect his quarterback and open holes for his running backs, executed what can only be described as a theatrical dive, a Superman-style leap that resulted in absolutely zero contact with his defensive assignment. The defensive player waltzed through untouched, completely unimpeded, as if Conklin simply didn't exist on the play. But it gets worse, so much worse. On that same play, left guard Joel Bitonio, who many consider the leader of this offensive line unit, the quarterback of the O-line if you will, also completely whiffed on his assignment. We're not talking about getting beat by a great defensive move or being overpowered by a superior athlete. We're talking about a player who appeared to simply fall to the ground, making no legitimate attempt to engage his man. The defensive player ran through completely free, joining his teammate who had blown past Conklin, and the play was dead before it ever had a chance to develop. Two offensive linemen on the same crucial 4th-down play, both failing spectacularly and inexplicably. The odds of this being simple bad luck or coincidence? Astronomical. The film analysis doesn't stop there. Eagle-eyed viewers and analysts have been combing through game footage for weeks now, and what they're finding is a pattern of behavior that's impossible to ignore. Multiple instances of blown assignments that seem too coordinated to be accidental. Moments where linemen appear to be in the right position, then suddenly abandon their responsibilities at the critical moment. Plays where the blocking scheme completely breaks down, but only when certain players are on the field. The evidence keeps mounting, and it's painting a picture that Browns fans absolutely do not want to see, but can no longer deny. The conspiracy theories that were dismissed as paranoid ramblings from frustrated fans just a few weeks ago are now being discussed seriously by mainstream sports media. Reputable analysts are looking at this footage and struggling to explain it away as simple incompetence. The level of failure we're witnessing goes beyond bad technique or missed assignments. We're seeing what appears to be deliberate non-effort, intentional whiffs, and coordinated breakdowns that are destroying plays before they can develop. When you factor in the context, when certain quarterbacks are under center, the alleged sabotage becomes even more suspicious. The Shedeur-Sanders connection cannot be ignored in this discussion. For those who might not know, Shedeur Sanders, son of NFL legend and current Colorado head coach Deion Sanders, is projected to be a top pick in the upcoming NFL draft. The Browns hold a high draft position, and there's been endless speculation about whether Cleveland will select Sanders to be their quarterback of the future. Now here's where things get really interesting and really dark. Some members of the Browns' offensive line have been vocal about their current quarterback situation. They've made comments, both on and off the record, about the team's direction, about who should be playing, about what they think the organization should do. The tension is palpable, and it's not hard to connect the dots between these comments and the on-field failures we're witnessing. The question that keeps emerging, the one that nobody in the Browns organization wants to address directly, is this. Are certain players deliberately tanking to force organizational changes? Are they trying to protect the draft position to ensure Sanders ends up in Cleveland? Are they making a statement about current management decisions by ensuring the team continues to lose? The implications are massive, and if true, would represent one of the biggest scandals in recent NFL history. Players are paid millions of dollars to perform at the highest level, to give their all for their team and their fans. If members of the Browns' offensive line are deliberately underperforming, they're not just breaking trust with the organization, they're committing fraud against everyone who pays to watch them play. Social media investigators, led by prominent voices like Gucci on Twitter, have been relentless in exposing this footage and demanding answers. These aren't casual fans throwing around hot takes. These are people who understand football, who know how to break down film, who can spot the difference between a player getting beat and a player not even trying. The footage they've uncovered and shared has gone viral, generating millions of views and sparking intense debate across every major sports platform. The Browns organization has remained largely silent on these accusations, which many interpret as an admission that there's fire behind all this smoke. Let's talk about Joel Bitonio specifically for a moment, because his role in this alleged conspiracy is particularly troubling. Bitonio is considered one of the leaders of this offensive line, a veteran presence who's supposed to set the tone and standard for effort and execution. He's been with the Browns for years, through multiple coaching changes, quarterback carousels, and front office shakeups. If anyone should be above reproach, it should be him. But the film doesn't lie, and what we're seeing from Bitonio on certain plays is absolutely inexcusable. Whether it's the 4th and 1 situation, where he simply collapsed without making contact, or other plays throughout recent games where his effort appears questionable at best, the pattern is disturbing. When your leader is failing this spectacularly, what message does that send to the rest of the unit? The timing of these breakdowns is also highly suspicious. They seem to occur most frequently in critical situations, moments where a successful play could change the momentum of the game or keep a crucial drive alive. 4th downs, 3rd and shorts, red zone opportunities. These are the moments where professional athletes are supposed to elevate their game, where championship caliber players impose their will. Instead, we're seeing the opposite. We're seeing complete breakdowns, missed assignments, and failures that hand the game to the opposing team. The pattern is too consistent to be random, too coordinated to be mere incompetence. Now, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the bigger picture, because this story isn't happening in a vacuum. The NFL draft looms large over everything happening in Cleveland right now. The Browns are positioned to have a top pick, potentially the number 1 overall selection, and the quarterback class is absolutely loaded. Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward are the 2 names at the top of everyone's draft board, 2 talented quarterbacks who could potentially transform a franchise. Ward, currently playing for the Miami Hurricanes, recently spoke about his relationship with Sanders and the unique pressures they're both facing as they prepare for the NFL. Ward's comments were revealing and showed a maturity beyond his years. He spoke about how every rookie's journey is different, how you can't get too high after wins or too low after losses. He acknowledged that he doesn't know what Sanders is dealing with on a daily basis in his building, just as Sanders doesn't know what Ward faces with his team. The mutual respect between these two young quarterbacks is evident, but so is the understanding that they're both navigating incredibly difficult situations as they prepare for the next level. Ward mentioned that the last time he and Sanders spoke was at the start of the season, a reminder that these young men are competitors first, friends second, and that the business of football often separates people who might otherwise stay close. The parallel between Ward and Sanders is fascinating because it highlights how different their paths to the NFL have been, even though they're both considered elite prospects. Sanders has dealt with immense scrutiny, criticism, and pressure, amplified by who his father is, and the expectations that come with the Sanders name. The speculation about him potentially joining the Browns has been intense, with every game analyzed not just for his performance, but for how it might impact his draft stock and where he ends up. Ward, meanwhile, has had his own challenges with the Dolphins, dealing with inconsistency in the passing game and working to develop chemistry with his receivers. Both quarterbacks are learning that sometimes you have to lose to truly learn how to win, that adversity reveals everything about your character and your ability to handle pressure. Ward's philosophy about losing revealing everything is particularly relevant to the Browns situation. When a team is winning, flaws can be hidden, effort can be masked, and problems can be swept under the rug. But when a team is losing, especially losing as badly and as consistently as Cleveland has been, everything gets exposed. The lack of effort from the offensive line isn't just visible, it's glaring. The dysfunction within the organization isn't just rumored, it's on full display every Sunday. The question of whether players are genuinely trying their hardest isn't just whispered about in private, it's debated openly on national television. Losing reveals everything, and what it's revealing about the Cleveland Browns is absolutely damning. The Browns faithful, some of the most loyal and long-suffering fans in all of sports, deserve so much better than what they're getting. These are people who have stuck with this franchise through decades of disappointment, through countless rebuilds, through embarrassing losses and false hope seasons. They show up every Sunday, they buy the merchandise, they defend their team against mockery from fans of other franchises. And for what? To watch their offensive line apparently quit on plays? To see crucial situations sabotaged by players who seem more interested in making a statement than winning football games? The betrayal these fans must feel is immeasurable, and it's completely justified. The financial aspect of this alleged sabotage cannot be overlooked either. These offensive linemen are making millions of dollars per year. Jack Conklin signed a massive contract to come to Cleveland and be a cornerstone of the offensive line. Joel Bitonio has been rewarded handsomely for his years of service to the organization. Other members of this unit are similarly well compensated. These aren't rookies on minimum contracts trying to figure out the NFL game. These are established professionals who know exactly what's expected of them and are being paid premium money to deliver premium performance. When you watch that 4th and 1 play, when you see Conklin doing his Superman impression while his man runs free, when you watch Bitonio simply collapse to the turf, you have to ask, where is the accountability? How are these players not being benched, fined, or cut? The coaching staff's response, or lack thereof, is another troubling element of this story. Where is the head coach in all this? Where are the position coaches? The offensive coordinator? If players are deliberately underperforming, it's the coaching staff's responsibility to identify it, address it, and if necessary, remove those players from the field. The fact that we're seeing these same problematic performances week after week suggests either the coaches are complicit in what's happening, they're incompetent and can't recognize the problem, or they're powerless to stop it. None of these options reflect well on the organization, and all of them raise serious questions about the culture and leadership in Cleveland. The film truly doesn't lie, and that's what makes this situation so explosive. In today's NFL, every single play is captured from multiple angles in high definition. Every movement, every missed assignment, every moment of questionable effort is preserved forever on film. Analysts can slow it down, break it down, and show exactly what happened and who's responsible. You can't hide in the modern NFL. You can't get away with not trying. The evidence is right there for everyone to see. And what the evidence shows about certain members of the Browns' offensive line is absolutely damning. These aren't subjective judgments or biased interpretations. These are objective observations of players failing to execute basic assignments that high school linemen could handle. The broader implications for the NFL are significant if these allegations are true. If players can deliberately tank, if they can sabotage their own team to force organizational changes or protect draft positions, it undermines the entire competitive integrity of the league. Fans invest emotionally and financially in their teams with the expectation that every player on the field is giving their absolute best effort to win. Betting markets, fantasy football, playoff races, all of these things depend on the assumption that games are being played legitimately, that outcomes are determined by genuine competition rather than internal sabotage. If that assumption is false, if players are deliberately throwing games or plays, it shakes the foundation of everything the NFL is built on. The investigation into what's happening in Cleveland needs to be thorough and transparent. The NFL has resources and investigators who can look into these allegations. They can interview players, review communications, examine betting patterns, and determine whether there's any truth to the conspiracy theories that are swirling. If they find evidence of deliberate tanking or sabotage, the consequences need to be severe. We're talking about potential suspensions, fines, or even lifetime bans for players who are proven to have intentionally undermined their team. The integrity of the game demands nothing less. This can't be swept under the rug or dismissed as frustrated fans seeing patterns where none exist. The evidence is too substantial, too damning, and too visible to ignore. For Shedeur Sanders, watching all of this unfold must be surreal and probably more than a little concerning. If he does end up being drafted by Cleveland, he's inheriting a situation that looks toxic from top to bottom. An offensive line that appears dysfunctional, a fan base that's been betrayed and traumatized, an organization that seems incapable of holding players accountable, and a spotlight that will be impossibly bright given his last name and the circumstances of his arrival. It takes a special kind of player to walk into that situation and succeed. To earn the trust of teammates who may have been part of the problem, to win over fans who have every reason to be cynical and skeptical. Sanders has shown throughout his college career that he has the talent and the mental toughness to handle pressure, but this would be a test unlike anything he's faced before. The comparison between the Brown situation and other NFL controversies is inevitable. We've seen tanking allegations before, most notably with the Indianapolis Colts when they secured the #1 pick that became Andrew Luck. We've seen players accused of not giving full effort, of prioritizing individual stats over team success, of being more concerned with contract negotiations than winning games. But this feels different, more coordinated, more deliberate. The visual evidence is more clear-cut. The pattern of behavior is more obvious. If these allegations are proven true, this could be remembered as one of the biggest scandals in NFL history, a moment that forced the league to re-examine its policies on player accountability and competitive integrity. The media's role in this story has been crucial. Without content creators, analysts, and journalists willing to highlight this footage and ask uncomfortable questions, this story might have been buried or dismissed. The mainstream sports media can sometimes be hesitant to pursue narratives that make the league or its teams look bad, worried about losing access or damaging relationships with sources. But the democratization of sports analysis through social media has changed the game. Independent voices can surface evidence, build cases, and force conversations that the traditional media might avoid. The footage of the Browns' offensive line failing has spread virally, not because ESPN decided to make it a story, but because fans and independent analysts recognized its significance and demanded answers. Looking ahead, the Browns face a critical offseason that will define the franchise for years to come. They need to make decisions about their roster, their coaching staff, their quarterback position, and most importantly, their offensive line. If the allegations we've discussed are true, wholesale changes are necessary. Players who have shown they can't be trusted need to be moved. Leadership needs to be established. A culture of accountability and effort needs to be built from scratch. It's a massive undertaking, but it's absolutely essential if Cleveland wants to return to relevance and competitiveness. The talent exists throughout the rest of the roster, but no amount of skill at other positions can overcome an offensive line that won't do its job. The human element of this story is also worth considering. These are real people, with families, reputations, and careers on the line. If players are being falsely accused, if there are legitimate explanations for what appears to be sabotage, they deserve the opportunity to clear their names. The court of public opinion can be brutal and unforgiving, and once narratives are established, they're incredibly difficult to change. At the same time, if players have genuinely betrayed their teammates, their coaches, and their fans by deliberately underperforming, they need to face consequences and accountability. The truth, whatever it may be, needs to come out, and it needs to come out soon. The story of the Cleveland Browns offensive line and the alleged sabotage represents everything that can go wrong in professional sports. It's a tale of dysfunction, betrayal, lack of accountability, and the corrosive effect of losing on an organization's culture. It's a reminder that talent alone isn't enough, that effort and trust are foundational to any successful team. It's a warning about what happens when leadership fails, when players prioritize personal agendas over collective success, when organizations lose control of their locker rooms. Most importantly, it's a call to action for everyone who cares about the integrity of the game to demand better, to insist on transparency and accountability, and to never accept betrayal of the fans who make this sport possible. So, what do you think, YouTube fam? Are we looking at the biggest sabotage scandal in NFL history? Is this offensive line deliberately tanking to force organizational changes? Are these just unfortunate coincidences and bad football? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now because I want to hear what you think about this explosive situation. And listen, if you made it this far, you're clearly invested in this story. So do me a favor, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates as this story continues to develop. Share this video with your fellow football fans because this is a conversation the entire NFL world needs to be having. The truth is out there, the film doesn't lie, and we're going to keep digging until we get answers. Until next time, keep it real, stay woke to what's happening in this league, and remember that in the NFL, nothing is ever quite what it seems. Peace out.
Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.